My brother's fiancée falsely accused me of hitting on her. My brother texted, "Stay away from us." I replied, "Done." Then I withdrew my name as guarantor for their new house mortgage. Now their loan has been denied. I'm 32, and I am, or I was, the family's designated adult. You know the one who gets the 11 p.m. call for a ride, the one who helps move the heavy furniture, the one who co-signs things. It's not a role you ask for, you just fall into it. My brother Ryan, he's 29. He's the charming one, the guy who lives life on impulse and worries about the details later. And his fiancée, Cynthia, she's his perfect match, intense, charismatic, and completely obsessed with curating their perfect life on social media. Now, I never truly warmed to Cynthia. She had this way of complimenting you that just felt like a slap. "It's so amazing that you're so stable and practical," she'd say, and her smile never quite reached her eyes. It was her constant, subtle way of reminding me she found my life boring. But Ryan was madly in love, so I kept my mouth shut. 3 months ago, they found their dream house, a sleek, modern new build in a neighborhood they couldn't possibly afford. Predictably, their income wasn't enough to get the mortgage. That's when Ryan sat me down for the biggest ask of my life. He needed me to be the guarantor. It was a hell of a risk. I mean, we're talking about a significant mortgage that would hang over my head for the next 30 years. I love my brother, but I'm not an idiot. I told him I needed to think about it. The very first thing I did was spend a few $100 to have a lawyer look over the paperwork. The lawyer told me the bank's agreement was standard stuff, but then he gave me a piece of advice. He said, when you're mixing family and large sums of money, it's smart to have a separate personal agreement just to keep things clear. So he drafted this simple one-page document for me. It had 2 key things. 1, if they ever defaulted, I had the option to take over their equity for the amount I paid. And 2, he added a clause that he called his SIA, special cover your ass. It stated that my guarantee was contingent on a relationship of mutual respect and good faith, and that any act of defamation or malicious falsehood would be grounds for my immediate withdrawal. At the time, it felt like ridiculous overkill, a formality. I presented it to Ryan. He barely even glanced at it. "Yeah, man, of course. We're brothers. Good faith is a given." We both signed it in front of a notary. I filed it away, felt secure. The bank approved the loan, and Ryan and Cynthia were over the moon. Fast forward to a family barbecue last weekend. I'm making small talk with some cousins. Cynthia comes over, maybe a little tipsy, and stands unnecessarily close. She puts a hand on my forearm. "You're always so serious," she says. "You should try to have some fun." It was classic Cynthia, a little patronizing, a little too intimate. It made me uncomfortable, so I just made an excuse about needing a drink and walked away. I didn't give it a second thought. Then, 2 days ago, my phone just blew up. It was a novel-length text from Ryan, just this furious, rambling tirade. Apparently, Cynthia had broken down in tears. She confessed that I'd been making her uncomfortable for months, and the public incident, she claimed, was the final straw. She told him I'd cornered her, whispered that she was too good for him and that she should be with a real man who could actually provide for her. The accusations were so specific, so venomous, it felt like a punch to the gut. This wasn't some misunderstanding, this was a targeted assassination. And suddenly, it all clicked. For months, Cynthia had been making these little comments to Ryan about how I was judgmental of their finances, how I was too involved. She was laying the groundwork. I tried calling Ryan, no answer. Called again, straight to voicemail. And then the final message came through. "Ryan, I can't believe you do this to us. Cynthia is a wreck. Just stay away from us." He was so certain, so completely convinced. And just like that, after 32 years, my brother was gone. A strange calm settled over me. It wasn't rage, it was acceptance, clarity. Cynthia didn't just want distance, she wanted me erased. But she still wanted my financial backing. She wanted the house without ever having to see the guy who secured it for them. At family Christmas, I sat there for a long time. Then I picked up my phone. Me, done. My next call was to the mortgage advisor at the bank. I was polite, direct. "Due to a significant and unforeseen personal conflict, I am formally withdrawing my name as guarantor for the loan for Ryan and Cynthia." There was this stunned silence on the other end. "Sir," the advisor said very carefully, "I have to inform you that this action will almost certainly lead to the denial of their entire mortgage application. I am aware of the consequences." I hung up, blocked both their numbers, and tried to sleep. Update 1. The quiet lasted for 3 days. I was starting to think the next thing I'd hear would be a formal letter from the bank. Instead, it was frantic banging on my front door at 10 p.m. I looked through the peephole. It was Ryan, and he looked like he hadn't slept in days. I opened the door and just waited. "What did you do?" His voice was cracking. He barged right past me into my living room. "Exactly what you told me to do," I said, closing the door. "I'm staying away." "The bank called. The loan is denied. They said you pulled out. You torpedoed the whole thing. Why?" I just looked at him. The complete lack of self-awareness was staggering. "Are you serious, Ryan? You accuse me of trying to steal your fiancée, you tell me to get out of your life, and you can't figure out why I'd pull a multi-$100,000 guarantee out from under you?" "That was personal stuff," he said, pacing, now running his hands through his hair. Cynthia was upset. "She's sensitive. Maybe she overreacted." "You don't ruin someone's future over a fight. A fight is when we argue about who has to help Dad clean the gutters. This was a character assassination, Ryan. And you co-signed it without a single question. You believed her instantly." His phone buzzed. He glanced at it. The screen lit up with Cynthia's name, and I could hear the tiny frantic sound of her voice from feet away. Is he fixing it? Tell him he has to call them. Make him fix it. Ryan's face just hardened. The desperation was gone, replaced by borrowed anger. He hung up. You have to call the bank, he said, his voice low, demanding. Tell them it was a mistake. An emotional reaction. Fix it. No. The word just hung there in the air between us. What do you mean no? He sputtered, his voice rising. I mean no. The decision is final. I'm not a light switch, Ryan. You can't flick me on and off whenever you need something. You don't get to treat me like a monster in a bank in the same week. This is me staying away from your finances. This is me being done. He looked at me, and for just a second, I saw the little